So in this video, I'm going to show you how I built these open baffle desktop speakers, okay? And I built a pair for myself, a pair for my nephew. He just graduated high school and he is in William and Mary. And I got all emotional during his graduation. I said, you know what? You're getting a pair too. And he could not be happier. I mean, you will see his reaction. But the idea with these open baffle speakers that you get at your desk, why I wanted to build them is because I wanted a studio grade, hi-fi level system at my desk, because this is where I spend most of my time. I do have another listening room downstairs. It's my gym / listening room, but I don't spend as much time there anymore. This is where I spend most of my time. So I wanted to have something where at any moment's notice, I can just listen to anything and critical listen and hear details, channel separation, all of that soundstage. I want that soundstage. That's what these speakers give. And in this video, you will see me go from nothing to these speakers. No crazy tools, very basic stuff. My dad will help me. And we'll go from getting supplies. I'll talk about the drivers, putting everything together, tuning the DSP. I'm using a DSP amp. It's not very hard, but the results are amazing. Let me show you how I did it. So the very first thing that I did was sketch things up. And this is not end-all be-all design. This is just something I started with. So I get the dimensions right. And with that, we headed out to Home Depot. At Home Depot, we found these right here. These are 2x10s by 8 feet. They're only $10, $10.22, which is, I think, is a terrific price. The biggest challenge was to find them without knots, because a lot of them will have knots and blemishes and things like that. So we took our time to look through every one of these to find something that doesn't have the knots in it, something that has a beautiful design, something that I can really be proud of and build around it. And it took us a while to find it. In the future, I'm probably gonna go ahead and build these out of walnut or something much nicer. However, I am very happy with the one that I did find. The design is beautiful, and it was all about finding the right piece right here. The next step is to cut them to 24 inches. We had a guy at Lowe's go ahead and cut them down for us, and I was gonna do it at home, but this guy, he was kind of helping us, and he's like, I'll do it. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'll get them just right. And here it is. So we're getting this right here. Plunge cut, the trimmer cutter, plunge, I don't know, just a cutter. Edge tool right there. This right here, brand new blade. And this DeWalt router, and of course the circle jig. With all the tools equipped, the next thing we did was draw out the actual circles. As you will see in the future, you don't actually have to draw these circles out, but it was nice to kind of get an idea where things go. I have the baffle from the tweeter. I was measuring it, trying to figure out where things are positioned, and with that, we got to cutting. As we get going, one thing to notice is that this router, it's not a plunge router. However, it has a mechanism for lowering it down. I don't think it's meant to do it live like the way that I'm doing it, but it totally works. If you do it carefully, it's not much wobble, and I've been doing it successfully, no problem. However, this router does have this cable that you have to fight with the entire time. So if you are going to be making speakers, it's probably a good idea to get this version of the router, but with batteries, so you don't have to fight with the cable the whole time. About the circle jig. Now, it definitely has its flaws. It's a bit over-engineered. There's some parts of it that I would definitely want to be a little more sturdy, less flex. However, it does work. And if you take your time with it and practice a little bit, you will get really good insets and really good circles. I'm sure there are better options out there. If you know of one, please share in the comments below. However, with this one, it's available at Lowe's in US. You can just go and buy it and make circles. And that's exactly what I did. And now it's time to test it out. We're going to put in one of the drivers inside and see the fit. It's so good, it even got my dad throwing his hands up. That's pretty great. After finishing the first baffle, we've learned a lot. Like, for instance, you don't have to use a compass to draw the circles. You can just go ahead and mark the center points, and most importantly, the center line, center points, and the distance between the drivers. I wanted to keep those very consistent. And here on this picture, you could actually see what my markings were on the first one. And now it's all about just marking them on all the other baffles. And after everything is marked exactly, we'll go ahead and just batch cut all of these just like this. Now at this point the plan deviated a little bit from the original one. Instead of having a back brace how we originally intended, what we decided to do is have the bottom join the baffle in a step. So we have an inlay on this, it's a little over 3/4 inch, but really it's a square that is half the thickness of the baffle, and you could see how they join right here. Let me show you. And now we need to build the stabilizers, and the stabilizers is the new plan. So we gotta head out back to Lowe's, to the lumber yard, to find the perfect wood. Now I'm not just knocking on wood for good luck. I am doing something, and I'm wondering how many people or who actually knows what I'm doing here. Let me know down in the comments. What do you think I'm doing? And that continued for about 2 hours after that. But finally, after I got home, I decided to lay them out perfectly and go ahead and cut them to size so I can build the stabilizers. Now here's a very important choice to make. The stabilizers could be attached directly to the baffle. And if you want more bass, if you want bigger bass response, you can go ahead and attach them directly to the baffle. You can actually build a box here all the way around. However, I chose to do it like this, where there is a bit of a gap between the baffle and the stabilizer. And the reason for that, for these spacers right here, is because I want the bass to cancel out on the side. So that way the most amount of bass happens in front of the speakers in the sweet spot. And now for one of my favorite parts of woodworking altogether is shaping these speakers. Right now, this is where you can make these speakers look beautiful, specific to you. This is where I'll be doing some shaping. As the wood glue was drying, I went ahead and 3D printed the terminal box, but more on that later. At this point in the build, it's perfect. The sun is shining, I'm getting the speakers ready for a lacquer layer, for some primer. Everything is looking so good. What could possibly go wrong? No! 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 There's some tension there. I'm I'm sorry. It's okay, buddy. It's okay. Look at this. This was the good set too. Well, turns out it was not the end of the world. I was easily able to glue it back together, and using a little bit of wood filler, I was back on track and everything was totally cool. Now it was time to finish the natural wood with lacquer. I chose lacquer specifically because it ticked all the boxes. Number one, it gave me that amber, that very light amber color. The tung oil was also very close. It didn't make it too yellow. It gave me that amber. However, it took way too long to dry, and the conditions outside were just not great for the tung oil. So thereafter, we went with lacquer. Lacquer is it. It gave me the protection I needed, that amber color, and I was able to sand after 2-3 hours. I was able to sand it between to give me that beautiful shine that I was looking for. As the lacquer was drying on my pair, it was time for me to prime and paint my nephew speakers. And I decided to paint it green because William and Mary's colors are green, and I wanted to match it pretty good. And with this paint, I had to put on 3 or 4 layers, do a lot of sanding, recoating, sanding again to get the green to look just right. And then I thought, you know, just in case, I'm gonna go ahead and give Zach a call. Hey Zach, how you doing? Hey, I was wondering if I was gonna paint your speakers green, you know, like William and Mary colors. Would you like that? No. You want them black. Satin black. Yeah, we can absolutely do that. Yeah, it's no trouble at all. Yeah, let's do it. Well, we had to do a lot of sanding. So right about now, I started to think to myself, oh my gosh, black on the outer perimeter and green on the inside looks so good. But we were determined to color everything black, and I'm glad we did, but that very moment where it was green and black, it looked so good to me. Probably put on masks.
Okay. Yeah.
In total, we did 3 coats and we let it dry, but in between coats, what I did was use a super high grit sandpaper on the face, and that paid dividends. Now, what we're actually doing is fitting the speaker with what is people usually use blue tack. In this case, we're using Lawson's Black and Seal caulk, 1/4 inch diameter. This stuff is really good. It's made in US. I kind of prefer it to blue tack, but it's basically the same thing. What it's doing is sealing the speaker so it's airtight. But in this case, because it's an open baffle, what I'm really doing is aligning the front baffle so that it's aligned and no air can get between the front and the back.
It's close enough. Yeah.
So the next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and create a hub for the terminal for all the speakers. They're gonna be connected through here and go to each one of those speakers over there. So now the speakers are basically done, including the cable, the single strand cable that has 3 channels per cable, as you can see here. It is assembled and ready to go. Now, if you're interested in seeing how I made this cable, definitely let me know in the comments below and I'll make a separate video. But for now, let's tune these speakers. Now that everything is hooked up, we are ready to do some tuning. First, I want to tell you a little bit about the amplifier we'll be using. This here is the Akoustas AC650. We did build this amplifier. This is a passion project. We've been working on it for over 3 years. Quick shout out to Dr. Wurzba, of course, thank you so much. Dr. Chris Feigl, Arthur Matheson, thank you so much for this. Your help, the depth of insight, and your contribution is well appreciated. In this video here, we will be using this amplifier. It's a DSP amplifier. However, you don't actually have to use this. You can just apply what I'm doing to your DSP and separate amplifier. The very first thing that I'll do in this tuning process is I already did it, but I set the channel 1, 2, and 3, which is channel 1, 2, and 3 to left. This is my left channels. Then I set channel 4, 5, and 6 to my right channels. And then it's time to set the crossover point. And here I chose 1000 Hertz. How did I get to 1000 Hertz? I did a measurement using Room EQ. And let me show you how that works. And here you could see that for lower frequencies, everything is looking really nice. But then it starts to drop off right here, and it happens to be around 1 kilohertz. And this is the graph that we got. You could see that after 1 kilohertz, we've got workable area. We can actually work here. The next thing I do is a moving microphone method. This is where I find out what the frequency response is averaged over the area where my head is going to be. And between this and listening to it and tuning it using the DSP, I come up with a curve something like this, where in reality it's a little bit more like this, but I'll do a separate video on this. You'll see exactly what I'm doing using the microphone. But for now, let's see what Zach thinks of these. He's on his way. Let's show it to him.
Just hit that, and I'm gonna see what your reaction is.
Ready?
Yep. What?
Now, I won't be able to actually play the song on this video, what I'm playing for Zach, but I'm actually playing Chocolate Chip Trip by Tool here, which has an incredible soundstage. It does a lot of panning. The drums are very lively. You can hear them in the room. If you close your eyes, if you turn off the lights, you can pinpoint where the toms are, where the hi-hats are. It's quite incredible. And he's listening to them for the first time here. And if you want to listen to this, what I can actually do is put together a listening sesh where I can probably put this on a website somewhere or a link somewhere where you can actually hear this. So check out the description below. At some point, I'll put this on there and we'll be able to listen together to what Zach is experiencing this very moment. But I would love to hear his feedback, what he thinks right after listening. Here's what he had to say.
So what are your impressions so far?
No, it's crazy. It's like it feels like you're just like right in the middle of like the band doing the song. It's yeah.
P-10 secure, Commander. Hostile anti-air has been neutralized.
Oh, these are definitely I think the best speakers that I've ever had.
I will beat the prophet's shield like a drum.
I don't know. It's like
By the time the barrier
main
falls.
thing is just the surround sound that you get with just the 2 speakers, versus like conventional like surrounding it's crazy.
The stage, you mean? Like
yeah,
the way
the
that you can
stage,
imagine
exactly.
stuff? All right.
Yeah, it's not a very big trunk. Let's see if we'll get it in there. Maybe just the back. Is there a back seat?
There is. We're supposed
Okay.
to
Put one in the back.
one in the back seat. Looks like a subwoofer. In there.
I'm out in the driveway!
All right. Well, take good care of
And
them.
just like that, Zach is back on campus living a whole new life with these speakers. He's already texted me. He's super happy. I'm happy for him. And I want you to be happy as well with these. So now it's the time to talk about drivers. Now, you're probably thinking, what drivers should I be using? And that's what I want to talk about. So let me sit down and kind of go over them. So the tweeter right here is this driver. This is Hi-Vi, model number DMN-A. This driver right here is one of my favorite ones that they make. This is a large diaphragm tweeter. It's really good. It's incredible. If you haven't had a chance to listen to these, I highly recommend listening to them. We're only using maybe like 60% of what it can do because I'm bringing it down by 20 dB just so that they're in line with the other ones. The sensitivity is high, but the best thing about them is the sound stage. I can cross them very low at 1 kilohertz or 1000 hertz. That's relatively low for a tweeter. And using the DSP, I can bring up the 16 kilohertz, 17, 18, everything that's super high, just a little bit higher because it dies down with this one because of the physics. I could bring it up just a little bit and it's enough for me. It's quite amazing. So this is the driver that is responsible for the soundstage because it's so fast that, like, think about this. Like, how much more time does it take for the woofer to go back and forth to get to the next position as the signal goes versus this one? This is way faster. This is responsible for the reason why the sound stage is so high in this driver, neutrality is so high, and transparency is so high. And that is basically because of this one. So definitely recommend using that one. As far as the woofers, I've got some options for you because these may not be ready by the time this video comes out. I'm still working with the manufacturer to make these. These are fiberglass, very special kind of speakers. Specifically, could be used for open baffle, all sorts of applications. But this is 8-inch fiberglass. Is just not available. So I've been just bugging them and they've been working with me for like 2 years. I'm very happy about that. So we should have these ready. If not, let me tell you about the speakers, the woofers you could use instead of these and also get amazing results. So the first one is and I'll go in price ranges. So this is the cheapest one. The cheapest one that I would still recommend and keep the ratings that I gave to these speakers would be Dayton Audio RS22 5P-4A reference paper woofers. These are really good for the price. These have 6 holes though, so keep that in mind. These have 8 holes. These have 6 holes. It's a cast frame, really nice, just like these. But the response is a little bit different, and not by much. These are all going to have about the same response for what we're looking for, but the tonal qualities are a little bit different. The next one up is a little bit more expensive. This is SB Acoustics SB23 NRX S45-4, and in their graph, they're not doing any smoothing like the Dayton Audio, so it's got a bit of more of a jagged situation going, but acoustically, tonally, this is getting closer to what these are. Let's keep moving, but this is probably the one that I would go with myself if I didn't have these. Now, if you've got a little bit more money, this is the closest one, the Tang Bang. The next one is Tang Bang. This is basically just like these, but it's not fiberglass still. It comes very close in frequency response and everything to these, but what it actually does better than these is that you can cross them over much higher, which I don't really recommend doing because I want majority of the frequency range to be like a point source using that driver. Okay, now it's time to rate these speakers. And I'm very excited to introduce this rating system. I've been thinking a lot about how to rate these speakers. And the reason for that is that I want to be able to look back in the future and see what the rating is, how they compare to the newer speakers. So this is the rating system. Here's what these speakers rate. Overall, I give them an 82, a score of 82. And what does that mean? It's out of 10 different variables that I believe are the most important for speakers. I might edit that in the future, but right now I believe these are the most important things, and they are what? Soundstage. And these speakers got soundstage for days. It's quite incredible. That's the number one thing they got going for them, is the soundstage. Then also a frequency response, bass. That's the second best thing for these speakers, is incredible bass in the sweet spot. Mids are really good, highs, neutrality, transparency, sweet spot size, not that big on these speakers, so that's why they get a 7 here. But that's what they're designed for. The sweet spot dies out as soon as you get to the sides. When you go to the sides of these speakers, the sweet spot is no longer there. It's all about being over here. You can fit about 3 people for these speakers pretty tight to be in the sweet spot, but outside of that, it dies down really fast. But that's what they're designed to do. That's what they're specifically designed to do. So next is horizontal coverage and vertical coverage. With that, these speakers get an 82, which is basically hi-fi land. So for desktop speakers, this is very, very good. With that said, thank you so much for watching. The next video that I'll be putting out is going to be a listening session, so check that out. I can't wait to share some songs with you so you can hear it. Overall, I had a blast building these speakers. And let's just say, I'm not the only one that really enjoys them.
It's literally fire.
Watch, we're gonna get on the highway. Wait, let go, Isaac, let go. Okay, now we'll go back to holding it. Go back. We're gonna get on the highway.
To the highway.
Too close!